love you always, Mom. Inspire kids.
Radio show discussing the ministry and Executive Director of First Choice Pregnancy Services.
And I'm Jess, Choice Pregnancy Services. We are.
Good afternoon, friends. This is Jess, and I have Rebecca here with me today, filling in for Deb. Thanks for joining us. We are your to share insights and real life stories with. I will be bringing you the October 12th, 2022. First Choice has helped to provide 71 free ultrasounds to our clients and the women of the life. Many of our clients and speak into their lives and speak up for the. If you'd like to join this conversation, you can call 505588 and we will have Sunny. Today, we have Ken Wilson back here with us. Welcome, Ken.
Hello, hello.
Pro-life movement. He's been involved.
Many.
He was the about a chapter of 40 Days for Life. And he and his family are going to be joining us at 5 p.m. at the West, who is a mother of 9, and she's also the weekend co-host. What we will be highlighting those with special needs and specific. Now, Rachel Campos Duffy, her last child, and that's something with us, and he's going to be speaking into the topic of Down syndrome for us. So, welcome back, Ken. Briefly remind our listeners.
Well, 30 years easy, and here in Las Vegas and around our nation, as a matter of fact, and to on-site ministry, to information, just all kinds. But it's most exciting when you actually hold in your arms a child that has been saved from the work.
Yeah. I've been able to do that, and it really is very your time is your treasure too, and how much time that we is there, your heart will be also. And so what you're investing is laying there in your arms.
Yep.
It's invaluable.
Oh,
Yep.
I mean. So Rebecca is going to bring us some facts that we went and we looked up some things.
Yes.
We had our doctor give us some facts, as well as we looked up different things on the internet so that we can bring you some facts on Down syndrome.
Yes, as Syndrome Awareness Month, we wanted miracles their births represent. Number one thing is 90%, but 80% of those babies are misdiagnosed. Huge.
It's absolutely shocking that 80% aren't even correct, but they're still being aborted based fear into these mothers, and then killed based off of that fear.
Instead of truth, yes.
That's right. So I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, according to the CDC, 1 in 700 babies born have Down syndrome. Each year, about 6,000 babies with Down syndrome are given the chance to be born. 6,000 represents 10% survival rate for a Down syndrome diagnosis. That means 50,000 yearly are aborted for this diagnosis.
That's scary. I was reading today, as a matter of fact, I was quoted, and they were talking about in the first trimester there, which corroborates that. Depending on which study, when you're looking at 85 told, right? It did us into a whole nother world. Yeah, sure. What is the rest of our life going to be like? How is this child get hit with the question by the doctor, and and they're almost obligated to say this because they themselves informed by the parent, because now you have what they call a wrong had known of this legally. A lot of the doctors and hospitals and clinics feel that they're this information diagnosis. Absolutely. And it's a frightening thing for parents. It really
Our listeners that are watching us on social media right now, the devil is attacking us right now because off some of the facts about the radio went off the air. So interview on social media. Apparently, we're doing something right because we're under attack right now. Truth, the devil doesn't want everybody hearing what we have to.
Before we get into more statistics, I was wondering if I could go ahead and plug the Las Vegas Down Syndrome Conference. Would be able to do that? Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and there's a lot happening, and probably the biggest that's happening in our town is happening at UNLV. And time for me to tell you about the Las Vegas Down Syndrome Conference. That's going to be in a conference from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. You're going to have keynote speakers, licensed professionals that have you've been diagnosed with a child that has Down syndrome, and you're wondering what to do, and you need resources. And it's also geared towards from 14 years and up. There's a conference, there's a section of this conference, social skills and internet safety and even dating. I mean, just amazing. I mean, it's amazing stuff.
Wow.
Or, the Down syndrome person, there's resources. Holmquist herself, she seems like a wonderful lady. Straight to her number for more information about this $75. But here's the number. 07. That's 702-875-5 connections.org. Down syndrome. And just have a wonderful day getting a lot of information about what seems to be a very
because apparently we were having technical difficulties. It's now been worked out. Rebecca was saying are aborted. I think, but 80% of those that are aborted are aborting their babies based off of a diagnosis to spare their baby a difficult life. Not to mention all the other special needs that are being diagnosed. CDC, 1 in 700 babies born, 6,000 represent a 60,000 and 50,000 are aborted. 1,000 every year.
And why do you think the lives of Down syndrome and special needs are targeted?
They hear news, like, oh my goodness, how tough is life going to be? And, if there are other... And I got to be honest with you, as the parent, Juliana, I love my baby girl. She... And she's just full of Down's children. He says it just seems like God out of their motherboard,
yeah,
and
so
there's just and always loving, and it's blessing that can come. They're thinking about how the difficulty. Fortunately, tragically, sometimes.
Sure.
Yes.
And it needs not be. It's not God's will.
Absolutely.
So you're plugged in. What found?
Okay. There's a lot to be said. First of all, January 1st, it's 85% false positive. Be qualified. That has to be qualified. That's talking about the first trimester. Now, keep in mind, the parent, the news, as soon as they think they know something, and skewed towards error. Do for testing. There's invasive and there's non-invasive. And the first tests usually are non-invasive. And that ones in the first trimester that can have as much as 80 false positive.
It is.
Report. Do not be your pregnancy because there may not be anything wrong.
Strong case that there might not be.
And you're talking about amniocentesis. Now keep in mind, you need to be made aware of that. And if that's a slight risk that you're disorder with your child. But I got to be honest, often done. I mean, that's the only reason that you would subsequent tests through. And as you get further along the pregnancy, the accuracy for the tests increase. But keep in mind that have been told that your child has a genetic disorder. Continue of what that doctor is telling you is accurate.
Received a Down syndrome diagnosis.
Apart from taking the word of someone who has a Down's child of what is, they are such a joy, but word that I would like to tell for folks that are who already have Down's children, a level of frustration, sometimes a loss of patience. It's almost like children, but it's weariness, or maybe there's a lack of hope. Or I have a word for you. I really do. That child, because your child, the one that you've been gifted by God, that's really difficult to raise. Taking that soul with you into eternity, going to remember the into their life, and that is going to be an eternity of gratitude. It's an amazing blessing every day that appointment to show the love of God in Christ forever.
And to mature in your walk with Christ.
Absolutely. And the human being, you know, they learn. Our child is in somebody else, special class.
Wow.
But, yeah, we have some problems. But we're life is amazing.
Would you see than ours? Would you say?
Because, and the other thing that you're not getting is, as you're pouring into this young child of yours, a lifetime of character is growing. Your ability to love grows. Patience, all of that,
Grace.
all of that. To
Right.
really, and then one day, and eternity will be here. Forever.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That is amazing.
It's not about you, but in the
Clearly, somebody out there needed to hear that.
Yes.
Sit down. It was brought out there. Coming back on with us, our time has started. Had a story that you wanted to.
I got a phone call. Is a street intercessor along with and some other folks. So through in a black truck and went. My husband watched, and she stayed. Kept praying and just and
Plus,
And the girl, and she stopped where Carl and my husband couldn't do it. I just pray with you. She allowed him. So you need formula now, and they will embrace for you. And she was interested.
Wow.
That was just such an incredible.
You're making a difference.
Yeah, you're making a difference. You know, right away, it can be discouraging. And these praise reports are happening. So
Come out and join us for
again, and you don't necessarily want to minutes and just drive to, and if you can,
Amen. You can pray right in your car.
your prayer is in. The other stories this last week has been absolutely amazing.
Yes.
We're running ready for the banquet and knocking out some other special projects. That very last day of our filming, shortly before our to go home, you how many facets, and we just saw laid the path before us. A fully funded abortion, including her travel, her motel, all of it, to kill her baby. She was scheduled across town from us, like as for. She was a non-believer. To pray to God before she had made any big decision. Had her abortion scheduled. She said, "God, send me a sign." Threw himself out in front of her. He plucked her up from the step of first choice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't. Hoping that she's going to be there for the story. Please make sure that you come to
The banquet. What is it?
I will get to that. Yes. Again, our keynote. She ended up choosing in her decision and having that empowerment.
And not to mention life for herself. She did receive the gospel.
Here that day.
How good
And
is
she
that?
and her name Day.
It's just absolutely awesome. Everything that God just provided and over. Thank you so much, listeners. They, as you can see, they're not only like Texas. They're coming from these. So.
Okay, so first of all, please pray for First Choice to navigate confidence on a further broadcast, so stay tuned.
November 10th at the Westgate. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Ken, for joining.
Thanks for joining your ambassadors for the unborn. Today on KKVV.
Support the cause of saving unborn babies. Friends.org or call us at 702 294 2273.
God bless.
And welcome to Heartbeat. Jesus in a boat all night long. Or Jesus called out to them by saying, "Oh,